How are we doing, folks? Well, you're joining me on a Saturday morning out in the garage, and we are going to tear into the engine today. So, first things first, this is going to be the last time you hear this engine running, or even that I hear it running, unless something goes horribly wrong. So let's put the camera down for a second. Still in there doing its thing all the same. Okay, so the question is probably going to crop up again. Why am I changing it then? Well, there are a few reasons. Basically, first of all, that engine is well worn. There's more mileage on it than there is on the Hubble Space Telescope. It's smoky when it's cold, when you accelerate. I reckon the valve guides are gone. There's an awful knock from the bottom end. It's a nightmare to start when it's hot. It's just old. It's due a change. And yeah, I think it's done enough for us. Now, that engine has taken myself and my wife around France twice, over to the UK, down to Devon and Cornwall, and we've been all over Ireland in it as well too. And we even got engaged while we were on a trip in the camper van. And yeah, it's taken us on some great adventures, but it's due an upgrade. So what I'd like to do though is I'd like to keep something off the old engine as well too, just turn it into an ornament or something along those lines, but we'll think about that at a later stage anyway. So anyway, what we're going to do today is we're going to prepare the new engine to be fitted. So first things first, what we need to do is we need to fit the Spigot shaft bearing and the flywheel. Now, the Spigot shaft bearing goes inside the crankshaft down here, right? So there's none in there now at the moment, and the reason there's none in there is because this engine was transversely mounted in the Seat Alhambra, and when it's transversely mounted, it doesn't need a Spigot shaft bearing. But when it's longitudinally mounted, like it will be in the van, or it would have been in a Passat or something along those lines, then it does need it. So I have a Spigot shaft bearing. I've also got a dual mass flywheel, so it did have a solid flywheel on it before, so that's going to be getting put on as well too. And then what I want to do is I want to decommission the engine in the van. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to drain the oil, coolant, all the fluids and that as well too, and I'm going to start taking some bits off it. So I want to take the oil sump, the oil pickup, the turbo oil feed and return lines, and a few other bits and pieces. I'm only making life difficult on myself now at this stage by not doing it, and to be honest with you, I'm not driving the van at the moment. There's no tax or CVRT test on it at the moment anyway, so that'll need to be done. And yeah, I mean the back brakes need to be overhauled as well too if I'm going to be passing that CVRT test. I know about that, in fairness, but only a small job. Anyway, so without further ado, let's get stuck in. I'll set you guys up on a stand anyway so you can have a look. The other thing I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be changing the timing belt, the V-belt, the water pump, and yeah, so we'll be basically getting this engine ready to run. And if I have time, what I'll do is I'll hook the harness onto it. I think what I'll probably end up doing just today though is I'll probably just connect the starting motor up and connect the bulb to the oil pressure light and make sure we get oil pressure. I have some 5W30 engine oil, which I'm going to just throw into it just as a flushing oil. I would run something heavier though. I'd run probably 10W40. But the 5W30 I have left over and I don't have any use for particularly at the moment, so it will do for kind of running the engine in. So, but there's no point in putting it into the old sump, because then I'll only end up like getting 5 minutes of run time out of it before the engine will start to get hot and bothered, because there'll be no cooling system on the engine on the ground in the garage floor. So yeah, right. So Spigot shaft bearing. Let's get set up. Okay, so the first thing we need to do really in this whole job is to make sure that where the bearing is going is clean. There's the bearing there, okay? So we put that aside for a moment, and I'm going to just use a little wire brush on the end of the drill. You can imagine dirt is coming out of there. You wouldn't want that getting into the bearing. Okay, so we're just going to cloth and just wipe that out now. That's looking pretty good in there now. Okay, so that's now ready to accept the bearing. So what we can do is, if you look at a bearing, you'll see that there's two ways of putting it in. Okay, you can put it in back to front, or you can put it in the right way. This one doesn't have thrust marked on the outer race there, but what it does have is a part number, and the part number faces out if it doesn't say thrust. If it does say thrust, that faces out, okay, on the outer race. And obviously the other side says nothing. You can see this bearing is pre-lubricated. So what we will do is we'll pop it in here, okay. Now we need to make sure it goes in fairly square. What we're going to do is we're going to just give it. Oh, there it goes on the floor. Not such a great idea. Just in case that happens again, let's just sweep the floor a bit. Okay. So, give it a couple of taps, and then what we'll do is we'll drive it home with a suitable size socket. You need to make sure it goes in square. So. Now, we'll use the socket to push it home the rest of the way. A 15mm socket does fine. Just give it a wipe. Might use a deep socket actually, just so as to save the fingers. Oh, a deep 15mm socket, so okay, we won't do that, we'll just use this. What we do is just put an extension on it. You'll know it's home because the tone will change when you hit it. Okay, so there we go. So there's a spigot shaft bearing in now, right? So that's job number 1 off the list already. The next thing we're going to do is fit the flywheel. Now, fitting the flywheel shouldn't be a major ordeal. The only thing I'm thinking is I don't have a flywheel locking tool, and even if I did, given the fact that it locks against the flywheel, I'm not sure how that will work. So what I think we'll have to do is improvise. I think what we'll do is we'll put a breaker bar on the nut on the other end of the crankshaft, or the bolt that holds the pulley on, and brace against the ground while we're torquing them, because there is quite a torque on these and you do not want them coming loose. It's bad enough if a dual mass flywheel breaks up, but it'd be another thing altogether if it wasn't tight enough. Okay, so we'll get rid of those bolts for a moment. Okay, so I'm going to clean up the face here. Okay, make sure that that's all good, and yeah, we'll get the parts organised. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm actually going to rotate the engine just until we're kind of in the ballpark of one of the timing marks. Maybe the timing mark on the fuel pump would be a good one to go with. At the moment it's right around the bottom, so what we want to do is the flywheel will only go on one way, the bolts are staggered. But I want to put it on with everything in the right kind of area. Now there's a timing mark on the pump which is up here, so we will rotate it on the on the pulley for the pump is a notch. Now, I'll show you all this when we're doing the timing belt. For the moment, it's just to kind of get it into the right general area, and then we'll kind of set it all up properly afterwards. So, having it swinging on the chain isn't ideal really in some respects. It's handy in other respects, but it's like the automotive equivalent of bobbing for apples. So, yeah, if you have a look on the, I'll show you now, on here's the bolt holes for the, obviously the flywheel. There's balance weights on it here as well too, but those two there look closer together than all the rest. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a vernier calipers, and I'm actually going to just put it on them and just see what distance we're talking here. Fine. If you're going to have one measuring tool in your garage, it should be one of these. Alright, so you're talking 16.7 mil, right? Now, if I lock that down, that'll just give me a good reference point for where we're going to attach the flywheel to. So you can see all the other. It's these two lads down here. Okay, so what are we going to do now? We're actually going to make a mark here, and a mark here on the pulley, or on the flywheel even, and that'll be our reference point. Straightforward enough stuff, but sensible all the same. Okay, so we were up here. So no point. We're just using a black marker here, okay? So that will just that will line everything up there. A bit of weight to this. Okay, now we need a suitable Allen key for running them home. I hope it's an Allen key. It's not some stupid bloody VW tool now, because that would be typical of Volkswagen. Why would they use an Allen key? Of course it's not. It's some bloody Torx bit or 12 point. Ah yeah. Right, okay, so see, I have to go and raid my toolbox. It's one of these VW proprietary triple square things, but an Allen key just fits just to run them in home, and then what we'll do is I'll go and get the proper tool afterwards and then torque them up then. See, the thing is you need to put quite a torque on these. It's like I think it's 30 foot-pounds plus 90 degrees of turn. So we'll do that. But, that obviously has to pull in quite a bit, because there's no way that starter gear is meshing with that, meshing with the flywheel at all. So yeah, I just hope I got the right bloody starter motor. We'll have to see. It just seems strange that the gears are flush with the. See, now I'm concerned I got the wrong bloody flywheel. You would have thought that those gears would have to be proud of this here, because how is the gear is supposed to mesh with these on the starting motor. Unless it's in at an angle. Maybe it is. Well, I mean, it fits. Like, I don't know. Look, we'll continue on and we'll see what we can come up with anyway. I want to see if I have a tool for tightening them up anyway. It's very easy to hit the zoom button when I'm pausing the recording. Okay, so a little trip to the motor factors gives us this, which is a kit with all of the spline bits that we need in it. And it was €10. So, can't go too far wrong. Just hope it's right. We have the right bloody size now. That's it. Let's probably make the size up. So, there we go. Perfect. Right. Okay. So that's that, and comes with a little socket, which will fit nicely onto our impact gun. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to just run it down with the impact gun. I'm not going to obviously just try. I'm not going to try kind of torque it. So I'm just going until it stops. There's Loctite on the threads of these to keep them in place already. Okay, now that starting motor's just not going to do the bloody job. And the teeth are nowhere near the drive bendix is nowhere near the flywheel. I'm just going to show you what I mean here. Be able to see it there. So either we have the wrong start motor, or, well, I mean, it's the right flywheel. It's for this engine code, so I don't wonder, is the engine actually turning? Have I missed something big here? It's turning, but it's quite tight. So I think we need to take that back off. I think we've got a problem. Right. Okay, I took it off anyway again because obviously I wasn't happy. It's rubbing on this here, which is only just part of the oil sump, so far as I can tell. Although I'm not fully convinced now. I'm just looking. There's rub marks around there. There's rub marks all around there, and that's not going back far enough. So we can take off the shim plate, but I don't think that's the right way to do it. I don't think you're supposed to remove the shim plate in order to put this this setup on. I'm wondering, is the shin plate different when you're not using a dual mass flywheel? Answers on a postcard, please. I think I need to make a phone call. So, yeah. Anyway, right. Look, let's do that. This is going to be a monumental rant because VW, in their infinite wisdom, decided that they would use the same engine code for different engines. So an AHU engine is not necessarily an AHU engine. If you have a transverse mounted engine, it's a completely different engine block than if it's a longitudinally mounted engine. And so there's a different bloody flywheel. So now I'm after spending €400 on a flywheel that doesn't fit my engine, so I'm a little bit annoyed, if you can't tell. So thank you VW for that one. That's really helpful, you know, I mean, in all of this, like, I mean, yeah. So I'm going to be putting that flywheel up for sale and seeing if anybody wants to buy an unused DMF for a Golf or transverse mounted car. Hopefully there will be somebody out there who does want to buy one, and I'll do it for a reduced price. Put your comments below if you are interested in that. I now have to go and try and ring local motor factories and see if anybody has a dual mass flywheel for a B5 Passat. Apparently the ring gear is on the other side, and it's on the engine side rather than the gearbox side. Yeah, some people might say I should have known that. No, I don't know that. I mean, there's a lot of things to think about in this project. If I knew everything, I wouldn't be feeling my way through this slowly. I also, in hindsight, should have gone and bought an entire B5 Passat with engine and gearbox in it, removed it, used those parts. You know, I mean, yeah, I could have done that as well too, but I didn't. So I have the engine from a Seat Alhambra and the gearbox from the B5 Passat. I have to make the two of them work together. So what am I going to do now? First of all, I'm going to get onto the motor factory, see if I can get that flywheel, sell the old flywheel. I'm going to put the timing belt and water pump belt onto this. Hopefully I have the right timing belt, because probably I don't, and it's the same part number for two different parts. I will fit the tensioners. I will get what I'm annoyed at is actually the fact that I can't turn the engine over. I wanted to crank it over and actually see if I could get oil pressure, but I can't do that now. I may well do a little bit on the van today, I'm not sure. I might just, you know, kind of tip away at the engine here and do more of it midweek in the evenings, which is not as convenient for me as getting up early on a Saturday morning and coming out to the garage and doing this. But yeah, anyway, right, so look, let that be a lesson to you. Transverse mounted engines have different flywheels to longitudinally mounted engines, even though they're the same engine. Okay, so I know that. You may have already known that and you're laughing at me now, or you might not know that, and this could save you about €400 in hardship. Anyway, right, let me ring some motor factors and see if we can resolve this situation. Okay, look, I'm going to press on today and just see what I can get done. One of the things I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the timing belt and the V-belt, okay? And I'm going to clean up all our pulleys and that as well too. Now the timing belt pulleys don't look too bad, but these are looking pretty crusty. So either way we have to take them all off. So start by taking out the long bolts here, okay? Get rid of our pulleys. Now, I want to try and get the belt off actually first of all, because what's going to happen is that's going to snap back on me. So what we'll do is we'll get, obviously the tensioner is turning like that. Now I am not sure, I'm sure there's a way of taking the tension off that, but what I'll do is I'll grab that with the channel locks and just twist it around to get the tension off the belt, try and remove the belt, and then at least that way once the belt is off the pulleys will come off nice and easy. We have to take the pulleys off in order to get the take the timing belt off. Now that works. Okay. Simple but effective. Right. Okay, so that's the bottom pulley undone. Okay, so now giving it a few taps. There is my hammer gun. So, there you go. You don't want to whack them. I mean, the object of the game here isn't to crack them. We're not going to have to put that pulley back on. But you know what? That's going to be ideal for us. That's going to be brilliant for the Lister engine. I can put that on the front and use it for driving various accessories. So we'll be keeping it. So there is that's the nut that holds on the bottom pulley for the time belt. We are not taking that off. Okay. So next we're going to take off the pulley for the water pump. The impact gun is great for things like this because otherwise you're trying to prevent the pulley from spinning as you're undoing it. So that should come loose now. It's well stuck on there anyway, there's no doubt about that. There we go. That didn't come off without a fight anyway. Right, so that's the water pump pulley off. There's that water pump. Okay, so next we need to take off this plastic cover. So we need to find out what's actually holding that on next. What is it? There's a bolt there. Okay, so okay. Okay. And should be another bolt somewhere else. Ah, there it is there, okay. There we go. So that gives us full access to the timing belt now. Okay, get that out of the way. We give that a clean up as well too before we finish. Everything here has to be cleaned. So before I start taking the timing belt off, I want to clean everything now, because it's fairly manky with oil. And then I'm going to show you my method for changing a timing belt the easy/lazy way. But it works. I've done it twice before, and in both cases the cars in question are still in service, so can't go too far wrong in that respect. Yeah, that water pump, there's nothing wrong with it actually. It feels absolutely fine. I'm in two minds as to whether or not to bother changing it, to be honest with you. I think what I'll do is I'll just keep the other one as a spare. If I ever do need to replace it, then I can do it then. But yeah, so anyway, right, next we'll spray this all with some geyser, clean everything up, and we'll be looking a bit better then. Okay, so I have the timing belt area all cleaned up here now, and what we want to do now is start having a look at taking the old belt off, okay? But before you do that, you need to mark everything, because otherwise how are you going to know how it goes? I also took that tensioner wheel off because it was a bit stiff. I might end up replacing it, but for the moment I just put some oil on it just to see how it actually comes out. I probably will pick up a new one actually. But anyway, it's the only one we have for the moment, and so may as well get it back working. What I'm going to do is, and I'm going to explain this to you now, how this method works, okay? We are going to mark the belt in 3 positions, okay? And we're going to mark the pulley in the same place as we're marking the belt, okay? So what that means is there's going to be a mark going along the top of the belt, down onto the pulley, here, and there'll be one down here as well too, okay? And then what we do is we transfer those marks onto the new belt and put the new belt on. Sounds simple? It is simple, okay? Especially when the engine's hanging like this. It's a little bit more fiddly in the car because obviously getting access to it is a bit tricky. But this is not that difficult, okay? Now some people saying it's a bullshit method for doing it because you're not checking the pump timing. Well, this engine was running before I did it. I don't have the dial gauge to check the pump timing. I'm not going to be getting into all that, to be honest with you. And unless the belt was in bad order, you know, or the engine just wasn't running right. I mean, look, I can go into checking the pump timing if the engine still doesn't run right after doing this job. But for the moment, let's just assume that it's right as it is. But it just needs a new belt. And this is definitely something you can do at home. It's not a difficult job. I'm doing it at home for God's sake. So the first thing we need now is a bottle of Tipex. The white mark makes it much easier to see, okay? So, let's pick our point to mark, okay? So, there's a timing mark already on the pulley for the fuel pump. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line right the way across that tooth and down onto that. Okay, so that's mark number 1. The best thing to do is to draw it on the actual tooth rather than beside the tooth. There is a mark here as well too, but I'm not going to use that mark because it's too close to where the belt comes away from the pulley. Okay, I'm going to make another mark up here. So, nice line along there, down onto the tooth, and down onto the pulley. Okay, simple as that. Just make sure that our mark doesn't come off. I want it a nice big splodge there, okay? And then the final mark is going to be down on the pulley down below, okay? Now it's important when you take the belt off that you don't turn the engine at all. It's likely that when you take the belt off the injection pump it will turn slightly, but you can turn it back into position afterwards. That's not really a major problem. Okay, so there's it. So there's our final mark number 3 down at the on the crankshaft pulley. So that pulley there is the idler pulley. It doesn't need to be timed. What that does is it actually drives the oil pump and the vacuum pump. There's an auxiliary shaft that goes right through the engine, and it picks up on. If this was a petrol engine, VW uses the same block for the petrol engine. This auxiliary shaft would be driving a distributor. At least in the older VW engines, it would. If you actually look at the setup on the Mark II Golf we have there, that is that has that same auxiliary setup. It works. It's effective. Now, I don't have the tool for turning that tensioner, but what I have done in the past is actually use the circuit pliers, and the circuit pliers works a treat. It will work. I mean, obviously we have to let the nut off. So just making sure it kind of fits there, and it does. So now we are going to undo this nut. Right. So now, I think I'll take that top tensioner off as well too. Now, put that there. So, that's the tension now off, okay? So what we do now is we slip the belt off the pulleys, okay? Because it's a big wide flat belt, you kind of need to work around one at a time, and just use a little screwdriver or a suitable pry bar to slide it off the pulleys. Don't go too rough on it, and make sure you don't rub your marks off, because if you rub your marks off, then you are into getting into pump timing, and that is a little bit more complicated. Not impossible, I mean, you can do it. But if it wasn't your intention originally to do the pump timing, it might upset you somewhat. As I said, some people will say you should do the pump timing every time you change the belt. Do you think that a mechanic, every time he changes the timing belt, does the pump timing? I very much doubt it. You'd have to have an awful lot of confidence in your the desire of your mechanic to spend a lot of time on the car. There we go. Timing belt is now off, okay? So let's set that down. There's your tensioner there, okay? And we'll be changing this as well too. I have a new tensioner, so I'll put that aside as well. Okay. So now I have the timing belt on the floor, and I'm going to show you now how to transfer the marks. Okay. I'll just wipe off some of the excess dirt now that was in behind the belt and the tensioner, isn't it? It's fairly grubby, all right. There we go. Okay, so now let's get our new belt. Okay, so we have here's the old belt, and let's give my hands a wipe. Take the oil off them anyway, and here's the new belt. Okay, now one thing you don't want to do is go and buy a cheap budget timing belt. It's a false economy in my mind. Next thing you need to do is make sure we have the right timing belt, and we do not. This is entirely the wrong timing belt that I have here. So, yet another hurdle. I don't understand why the timing belt is wrong. I mean, in fairness, I have the right, like I can understand why the clutch kit was wrong, but the timing belt, no, I don't understand this. Okay then, game over.